YouTube? Big old back at it again. Want to share my process on when I first purchased my 3-family house. I had somebody hit me up not too long ago and say, yo, what was your process? Like, what did you go through? And even though I talked about purchasing a 3-family last year, June, check it out, it should be pop up on the screen. It was a process. I'm not going to sit here and lie. But I am telling you, it is the best investment I've done thus far. You know, I don't regret it at all. Have I gone through some stuff? Absolutely. So I'm not going to be long-winded. But let me talk about the process real quick. So back in 2018, I was renting a 1-bedroom apartment in Mount Vernon, right? I was there for about 8 years. And one day I looked up and said, wait a minute, I'm spending way too much money on rent. Way too much money. At that time, you figure I was 8 years in, I have given my landlord $108,000. Now for me, I had to move. My situation called for me to move. But then I said, if I wanted to buy some property, I'm 38 years old, I ain't have no kids, I didn't have no real responsibilities except, my bills. I gotta change. Now check this out. At 38 years old, I made the decision to give up my apartment. I was fortunate enough, I was able to move back in with my mother. She had a 2-bedroom up in the Bronx. I gave her my 1-bedroom apartment. And I'm not going to sit here in front, it was rough. You know what I'm saying? Imagine you're 38, have your own place, have peace and quiet, no one telling you what to do. I've been on my own since I was, 25? I moved up when I was like 25, 26. And now I made the decision to sacrifice and move with my mother for... The plan was moving for a year and a half, 2 years tops. I figured 2 years tops, I'll have enough money for a down payment, I'll get a nice house. Even though I was saving already, I knew if I give him my apartment and sacrifice, that would give me that much quicker to my goal. And I'm going to tell you, it was difficult for me. I'm not going to sit here and it was difficult. Let me tell you why. Imagine you're 38 years old, no kids, healthy, athletic, you fit. You got you're clicking all the boxes, and now you gotta go tell people you living with home with mommy and daddy. Now, even though I don't care what people thought or what people said, I'm not gonna say in front. It was a hard decision, because now I'm coming from a 1-bedroom apartment and I'm moving into a little space. I was actually moving into my mother's office. True story, I had a day bed to sleep on, and I had a little space in the closet, and a lot of my stuff I either threw out or I put in the storage. Let me tell you, it was rough. That year and a half, 2 years, 2018, I moved out, it was rough. Because my sister would come over with her kids, they be yelling, and between my sister and my mother, they yelling at the kids. Oh my God, it was rough. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to sit and tell you it was easy. It was rough. The great thing about it, I was stacking my money, stacking, but it was not easy. On top of that, I had to get my credit right, which you should check out the link. I reached out to a lady named Tashima for my Free Life Credit Solution. She really helped me out immensely. And I mentioned that in another one of my videos. My credit score was like 430, 420 or something like that. So it was a process. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that when I bought my first property, it was easy. It was rough. I mean, sometimes I didn't even want to go home. I literally woke up, went to work, I stayed out to come home and go to sleep because my mother's house was noisy. Oh my God, Mom, may you rest in peace. But it was rough. So I get why some people, they don't want to be uncomfortable. I was very uncomfortable, but that pushed me to stack more paper, and I was doing side gigs. I mean, if you look at some of my previous videos, I tell you I crochet on the side. I took on another gig. I was just doing whatever I got to do to get to my goal quicker. Right now, a year and a half in, 2 years in, now it's 2020. I had the money, I started looking for houses. Unfortunately, as we all know, COVID hit January 2020. And my mother passed away March 2020, which sucked. Absolutely sucked. To this day, I miss her a lot, So even though I was in the process of starting to look for a house, now I gotta deal with my mother's 2-bedroom, because she You know, I was the oldest, and the place was left to me. I had to deal with that. So the search for a house was on a kibosh. I had to focus on getting that together, getting my stuff together, moving in. It was rough. So then the purchase of house was delayed for another 6 to 8 months. So by towards the end of 2020, I started looking again. End of 2020, right? Now my credit's good. I'm already stacking. Now I took over my mother's place fully, and I started looking to buy a house. Cause I still wanted to buy a property. I wanted to buy a multi-family house, right? Let me tell you something. I must have looked at probably over 20 places. I mean, I was going out Jersey, PA, Connecticut. It was rough. But I say all that to say it was well worth it. When I finally closed, you know, the money I had saved those 2 years while I was living in my mom's house while she was there helped me get my first multifamily. Now, I did FHA loan, and you know, you gotta live in a property for 1 year. I had my mom's place, so imagine I was literally back and forth. It was not easy, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever looking at this video, but let me tell you something, well worth it. And this goes to show you, whatever you're looking for in life, you're gonna have to sacrifice. Imagine 38 years old, I had to move in with my mother's house, but I knew what my end goal was. Unfortunately, she passed away, but guess what? I didn't let that stop me. It was delayed, but I wasn't denied. You feel what I'm saying? And even if it's not buying a house, you know, which I strongly recommend, if you don't own any property, I strongly recommend you can get some property. I'm gonna tell you this: if you have a job and you paying rent right now, you can get a house. Period. You just have to sacrifice. Give up cable. Give up a car. I gave her my freedom and independence. Imagine 38 years old and I didn't have a curfew, but you know, if I was gonna be out of respect for my moms, your moms are probably gonna be late tonight. Don't wait up. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't easy. It was rough. I remember when I was in the bed sleeping, mind you, it's my mother's office. She's like, "Oh, I gotta come use the computer because she did taxes." Oh my God. During tax time, man, listen, I could never sleep. It was I can't tell you how many times I slept in a hotel, slept at my cousin's house. It was rough, but it was well worth it. I mean, unfortunately, she passed, but that was unexpectedly. But I make this video for a point, you know, and that's why I did it impromptu. I had some notes, but it's from the heart. Whatever you want out of life, you're gonna have to sacrifice. And if it's property, which I recommend anybody who's watching this video get some type of property in your name, especially in multifamily, because it generates income, you might have to sacrifice. You know, that was my journey, you know, and one of the best investments I've made thus far. And I know 3 people right now who give up their apartment. They're living with family members, stacking their money, using their tax return, saving the money, taking on odd jobs, do whatever you got to do. But I'm telling you something, especially if you got kids, get some property. I can't tell, the house I was renting my apartment from out of Mount Vernon, it was family owned. The father sacrificed for the family, brought a damn near 10 bedroom, 4-family house. Mother lived on the first floor. I mean, the wife lived on the first floor. Now she's in her late 80s. The sons took it over. You know, all of the next of kin got a place, and they living rent free. You know, in worst case scenario, they got an asset. If they wanted to sell it now, especially in the market in New York, they could probably get 1.5 mil, split it between the kids, whatever. Get some property, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you. You know, you might have to sacrifice. You might have to, you know, be uncomfortable. But that was my journey. Getting my first multifamily, you know. I gave up my apartment. I was uncomfortable for a solid 2 years. Very uncomfortable. I had to get my credit right. I didn't buy nothing big. I kept my old car. I didn't go out that much. I wasn't dating that much. I was focused for 24 months. You know what I'm saying? Then when I had the money, I started looking. You know, unfortunately, COVID happened. In the 6 months of that, I went back at it again. Looked at over 20 properties. You know, I had somebody almost try to sell me they tried to sell me, and I said in my last video, try to sell me a fixer upper. They try and dump their problems off on me. You know, but well worth it thus far up to this date. So with that being said, I hope this helps some people. You know, that was my journey. If you have any questions, you know, put a comment on the link. I'd be more than willing to answer it, because I really believe, you know, especially for my black and brown people, we're not really taught to own anything. We're just taught to rent. Nah, man, that ain't it. That ain't it. Because think about it, we're gonna get older. And the older we get, our skills diminish. We can't do it forever. So if you can't live off of what you're making currently, you're not going to be able to live off it as you get older. But at least if you have a house, you know, preferably a house to bring in income, let me tell you, makes a world of difference. The house I was in, Mount Vernon, the matriarch, the mother, she was probably in her late 80s on the first floor. She didn't have to worry about anything. She was on the first floor. She was in a safe house. Her kids ran a property, and even if they didn't run a property, they hired a property manager. People don't think about that stuff. Something to think about. But anyway, I hope that helps. That was my journey on getting my multifamily. Till next video. Peace and love. And I'm out.